Well, hello again, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to another wonderful connection here on Aquarius Rising Africa. As always, we are delighted on our Tuesday to connect with our amazing friend and regular guest, Tom Althouse. How are you, dear sir? You're looking very James Bond today, I have to say.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the James Bondness. So yeah, it's great. I mean, it's great to be alive. It's great to be. I feel like we're all just pathfinders, forging a path right through what was supposed to be the thickest and darkest forest, and we're just going right through it, and coming
Absolutely.
out. Yeah.
Absolutely, it is. Which I thought was a great, fun topic to actually talk about tonight or this morning for you. Is that signs that the shallow state is crumbling. Okay. And I think that'll be such a cool topic to address with you because, you know, we're listening to so much BS out there, and that one's been taken there, and that one's been this, and that one's, you know, it's like nonsense. I don't want to hear any of that. It's just like, as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of propaganda around a lot of things. There's been a lot of infiltration in the truther community, especially over the past year, from what I feel. But I'm looking for those invisible yet visible signs that things are happening behind the scenes. By that I mean as well, it's like, you know, when we start learning, since we've been on this journey, and especially having regular interviews with people like yourself, with Jesse, a lot of other overcomers and survivors as well. Like we're learning now what the different hand symbols mean. So now when we see these guys all standing in a certain, holding their hands in a certain way, we understand who's the higher up, who's not. When we're seeing this and that and all these things, we're understanding. So we've learned to look with things with different eyes. So it's like, those are the eyes I want to see with now, if that makes sense. So now that we have awakened eyes, rather than go into panic because things are crumbling and everything is being destroyed, I want to see with the awakened eyes when things are crumbling, and also, you know, understanding and knowing that there's a reason as that's crumbling, we are rebuilding. So it's not about fearing the crumble. It's actually about welcoming it and welcoming the change, welcoming the chaos, not resisting what is, because many things are beyond our control. It's pointless to resist that which is beyond our control. We can only work with ourselves in the here and the now and control that which we can, which is ourselves. But how do we stay discerning, in alignment? What are we seeing? And I'm sure out of anyone out there, you would probably be one of the best qualified people, Tom.
Yeah, it helps to have been groomed by them.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taught the handshakes, you're taught the signs, you're taught, you know, who's behind the curtain. You're taught all this. And it's like you're introduced to them. What they do is they give you the rounds. When they bring you in, they give you the rounds, and you start to meet certain people and hear about certain people, and because they expect you're going to be invested and not want to give up your rewards and honors, you know, that no one would dare do that. They think they have humanity figured out, that we're all dark. No, they underestimated compassion, the power of it. So yeah, one of the things too, I think, which people should realize is, if it ever gets overwhelming, all the noise that's being thrown your way, and you start to feel like, I don't know what to believe anymore, simply walk away from the movie. Just turn it off, walk away from it. You don't have to watch the primetime news. Don't, it's not giving you anything anyway. And look at what's there, all these dolled up people. They're not really news people. They have no idea what they're doing, really. They're simply being image. It's all image. It's all a show. It's a dog and pony, and it's a medicine show. So just walk away from it. A lot of people are doing that, you know, and for as far as social media, you don't have to post the memes and get in all this other stuff. It's not achieving anything anyway. It really isn't. You are on the winning team, so you don't have to worry. You know, start enjoying life. Know you're on the winning team. Once in a while, donate to your favorite, you know, hosts, like right here. you know, support the people that are actually bringing the news. And you can tell if they're the genuine ones because they're going to get hit. They're going to get hit and hit. The more you support people like Morné and Chantelle, then the more the other side's going to get frustrated. If you want to make a difference, support them. And so it's like, that's the way to go. And then spot the wolves in the sheep's clothing. You know, when they're grooming these guys, like I said, Elon Musk, these other guys, they're just grooming them. Keanu Reeves, they're grooming them. They want you to respond in turn and go, oh, they must be wonderful. That's all, again, image making. That's their PR departments. Whoever they're grooming, that's not who to look at. Look at those that are persevering. They're your future leaders. They're the ones that are going to have gone through the fire and have stayed true to you. And especially those of us that have been groomed from the inside. If Jesse and I say no to the inside after we've been groomed for it, and we're wonderful people like you here, then you can count on us. We've already said no. We've already said no to them. And there are consequences. Boy, is there consequences. And if we come out smiling on the other end of it, you know, things are going to turn out well. It's going to be good because we've had everything thrown at us. Everything. We've had our children killed.
I think that for me is a really great point that you're making there, just in terms of this, you know, as an outsider that's entered this world 18 months ago, I had no idea of 90% of the stuff that I've discovered. But one thing I do know is human behavior. Mm-hmm. And when you see people under the pressure, the amounts of pressure that, let's say, yourself and Jesse, and I know that, and people like Madison, I've recently had Madison as a guest on our show as well. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about people like Al, who's a South African high-level survivor as well. There are there's something that I call grace under pressure. Mm-hmm. That we're human. We all lose our cool from time to time. We all have a bad day. Of course we do. Anyone who judges another person for having a bad day, well, I'm sorry. My point is that through the pain, the savagery of what this system has dished out, the complete coldness, the callousness, there's no feeling, there's no compassion, there's no empathy. It's just a systematic machine that has been created by the Luciferian forces over time to literally push out that agenda. And anyone who doesn't fit that narrative is just completely destroyed, mm-hmm. and in the most horrible, punishable way. So when I see people like yourselves go through what you've been through and you still have the grace, you don't turn into the dark and suddenly become that and do things and take revenge and go on shows and spew venom about this one and that one, like a certain bishop, whatever is now, I can't remember his name. So that would, you know, I mean, bringing like the Jerry Springer to the spiritual arena. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you know, you learn. You are. I mean, and I will just talk for Jessie here, for example. I've never heard her say a bad word about anyone, mm-hmm. despite what she's been through. Mm-hmm. She never speaks badly about people. Mm-hmm. And you can sometimes see the sadness in her eyes and that whatever is her emotions are. Of course, like you, she's been taught posture, mm-hmm. you know, mm-hmm. but there's a behavior that is imminent in people who are of the light. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean they don't stumble and fall and have a bad moment and what have you, but their actions tell you everything.
That's right.
They are consistent. They are graceful. They are strong. They understand their journey. They understand there's growth in every situation. and a reason on a much higher level than what we're experiencing right now. They're not interested in decapitating anything because they realize if you decapitate this, 10 heads will probably grow from it. So that's a very, very silly thing to do to begin with. You know, to decapitate someone's demons or whatever it is they talk about. It's just very silly. You know, you do not go after someone in a toxic way. You don't blacklist them. You don't criticize them. You don't start groups where you harass them and put out nonsense about them. You understand there's a bigger picture and God takes care of these things. If someone is not in their truth, they are going to be revealed. It's not up to you to be the Jesus police or whatever police. You know, Jesus doesn't need police. Rest assured about that. My point is, when you are dealing in a non-aggressive, non-judgmental way with these situations, and I'm talking about specifically people who are targeted and under intense targeting, that the way people respond to that tells me everything. And it's not a fake thing, because the fake thing will break at a certain point.
I think it's beautiful what you just said, and that we are actually designed to function properly. We are made to function well. And part of that functioning well is to only put honesty into our minds, into our hearts. Only behave honestly.
Honesty is the highest form of love. Sorry to interrupt you, Tom, but I think that honesty is the highest form of love. So when you are honest with yourself, it's a declaration of self-love. And that is the person you need to love the most, is yourself, and not from an egotistical perspective. I'm not talking about ego. I'm talking about spirit. Understand the divinity of who you are. That's the love I talk about. And then you start operating from that place, which is a place of forgiveness, which is why, for example, and I'm going to use Jessie because right now she's again under a lot of target, why she can speak to Satanists and not feel afraid that her religion is going to be shattered or her belief, whatever. She has a heart for that. Coming through what she's come through, she has a heart for that. We don't understand what another person has gone through. So when we just sit back and we observe, and we now want answers from everyone else in the world, but we haven't answered our own questions yet, there's a problem there. So we have to learn to answer our own questions and go within, and then we can recognize the people who have done the same thing.
Yes, and also to the children. You just made me think about the children. I'm noticing more and more, those of us that actually are honest in order to create, in order to facilitate creative material, we have to be honest with ourselves, and our mind is aware that we are being genuine. We can trust others because we can trust ourselves. At the same time, our children show a lot. If those of our children that survive, what happens is they were brought up with honest attention, honest inputs. And so they know, in my case, Aiden knows how his dad feels about him. He knows exactly what to expect from me, what I think of him. I tell him all the time, nothing's trick, nothing's hidden, he knows everything about me. And that's why he's such a threat to the other side. In my situation, he's a witness. That's why they say he doesn't exist, that he didn't create his material. But look at the child and the result. Just excelling. I don't do anything to discipline him. He is totally, we're on the board. We watch shows together still. He's 15, going to be 16 very soon. We do everything together. And he hangs with his friends, and we're close. It's like you take that with the other side that does all this manipulation, lies, and cheating, and their children know it. They force them to be accessories for their image, their children. And it shows. It doesn't matter how much they behave in public the way they're told to, it still shows in their physicality, in the way they behave, that they are not in a happy situation. They're being controlled and made to do.
I love what you said there, Tom, because it's such a pertinent point about the kids. And I've just put here, I've written down here as you're speaking, kids are pawns. So another good way to observe that is to realize who puts their children first. You know, when people are going through tumultuous times, how often aren't kids used as pawns in divorce and stuff like that, for example? There are certain people who just will not have their children affected or try, you know what I'm saying? You know, so children are very, and don't use their kids as pawns in the divorce or in any situation. It doesn't have to be a divorce. It could be anything. They protect their kids as much as what they can. They, you know what I'm saying? Children are very, as you say, a very, very important.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right about the music.
Observe a lot by observing the kids. That's for sure. You observe the kids a lot. You'll see a lot through the kids.
Yeah, you'll hear these other players say, you know, they'll even say things like this: my kids hate you. Well, I'll be like, my child doesn't even know about you. We don't even think about you. You know, we don't use our kids as pawns. They do. Yeah. And it's like everything, their love basically is that they give their kids position in the nasty stuff they do. They start to employ them, like what happened with 302 with me. These cousins of Aiden were used, every family member had a job to do. And it's like, then they had to cut Aiden off. It's like, that's not being young people. That is being pawns of corrupt, decrepit monsters. And that's being, you know, these poor children are then employed that way. When we had family gatherings, as an example, but before they cut us completely off, we'd go to a Christmas thing. And the kids would be playing, we'd be laughing, I'd be playing with the kids, we'd all be doing great board games, things like this. In comes my sister with her two kids. And the two kids sit on the bench with my sister, taking the center throne, basically. And they don't say a word the whole time. They just sit there like this the whole time. They are objects of my sister. They are pawns of my sister.
Yeah.
And they're not allowed to associate with the grandma if she's at odds with the grandma, things like this. And the sister, all she does is talk about herself. There's the language, all this stuff. That's not being a parent. That's being a queen of your own children, using them as pawns. Yeah.
I agree. It's that control and manipulation. You know, when you haven't understood that everyone needs, the greatest gift that God has given us is free will. So everyone needs and has the ability to make the choices for themselves. Of course, obviously, I'm not talking about minor children and stuff that need caring and what have you. But the gift is that you know, everyone has the choice. So the minute you try and control someone else's choices, particularly your children's, in such a hectic way, there's a problem. Children are free. They must be playing. They must be running around. They must be getting full of mud. They must be falling off things and breaking an arm. You know, that's what being a child is about. You know,
not sitting there.
Yeah, and riding bicycles and riding horses and enjoying life, exercising their bodies, enjoying their bodies, learning the power of the mind and the body. And it's such a beautiful time to be a child, those first 8 years. You know, when a child has a positive experience, those first 8 years of its life, those are very important years, those formative years. Yeah. So when you have a parent that is controlling the child, of course, you know, there's a beautiful quote by, you know, those of us who know Khalil Gibran, he wrote the book, The Prophet. And then there's a section on children where he literally, I mean, it's just beautiful. He says, your children are not your children. They are life's longing for itself. So, you know, they don't come to you, they come through you. You are there to guide them, not control them. They're the future, and we never look back in the past. So we shouldn't be looking back at our ways to work with our children, but we should be asking them to guide us into the future, because life moves forward, not backwards. So when we start understanding these things, we understand there's so much wisdom in that. But there again, when we look at how a lot of people use their children, neglect their children, abandon their children, abuse their children, those are big warning signs. It can be anything on a scale. You know, children are dead giveaways. So when you see someone who's really connected well with the children, and I'm not talking in a fake way, you get lots of fakers there. You know, I'm talking about in a real way where you can know authentically, you feel that child's happiness, you feel their joy. And a child, when a child is joyful, you know about it.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing too. Imagine a child at a young age hearing gossip, malicious gossip from their parent. Or a child at a young age knowing their parent is lying about another person's character or reputation. What are you doing to that child? What are you doing to their world? Let them have honesty, let them play, let them, and they will turn out great in the end, usually because they're part of an honest world. It just works that way.
Yeah,
so it's like, it really does. I think my son's an example of that. Just amazing kid with amazing friends, and he's cut off from the entire family thanks to the sister. He's being well rewarded. So rewards don't take the place of genuine love, compassion, caring.
Never can.
No.
It's the richness of spirit, Tom, right? You know, and the thing is, when one taps into the source, our divine creator, God, that spark of life, we have a richness of spirit that can never be explained. You don't need to hurt another. You don't need to harm another. You don't need to control another. You don't need to tell another what to do with their life. Mm-hmm. Because you've understood we all have that God-given right. And when people understand these things, they are naturally acting in accordance with God's laws.
That's true. And it's interesting because the other side, a lot of it, what happens with them, they're all about the image and power, and that's it. That's not a way to have a family. That's not a great way. It doesn't matter if they'll go, everybody loves me, nobody hates me, like this certain party said. I'm like, what? No child's afraid of me. How can you say that? How can you have your kids hear that? It's like, that doesn't make any sense. And then that thing about being all about image, all about that, suddenly you're becoming plastic to your own children. You're becoming something that they see you at home, they know who you are, and you want to have a connection with them. Then just be genuine, just be real. And if we are not talking others down, they actually think it's like this narcissism sets in, where they actually believe people are sitting down at dinner tables, whoever they know will be talking about them. Oh, how wonderful they are, and look what they accomplished, and oh my gosh, mashed potatoes. I just can't stop it talking about that person. That's not how it is in reality, but that's the delusion they get into. And they call us. Yeah, they actually think everyone's thinking about them. It's sad. They don't want to be laughed at, but is that not laughable? Are we blamed for laughing at that? It's ludicrous. It's delusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paranoia follows. And that's what they throw at us. It's like, no, we're happy, we're fine. So yeah, the signs that things are crumbling are everywhere. And almost like that movie where the bead of sweat comes down. Anime has this always. They show a little bead of sweat coming down. And it's like, that's what's happening now. It is the sweating time for the other side, because they're revealed. They're revealed. The rule, no one's revealed, never reveal the trail. Everyone stays behind the curtain. Who's the powers that run the show? Now it's completely revealed, and they're concerned about what? Their legacies. It's a bad time. It's a hot time in the town.
I mean, we've chatted about this a bit, mentioned the Elon Musk story a bit, I always look at, you see, for me, what has really had me doubting in the past is when I look at what's happening behind the scenes, despite what everyone's shouting and yelling about in the media and even in alternative media, which, as I was saying earlier on, is really so peppered with nonsense a lot of the time as well.
Well, it's like it's how they have an argument. These
Absolutely.
people, what they'll do is, it's like the media, like you just hit it for me. The media having all these things being thrown, and their plans throwing all these drops and stuff. It's like, basically it's an argument with one of these people from the other side. If we were to have a disagreement, we'll talk it through. Yes, okay, I agree. Okay, I understand. This is how they do it. No. That's what they're doing with the media. It's just, they're just flooding you with noise.
Yeah.
Noise. You got to shut the noise out. Walk away from the noise. Yeah,
What I wanted to say as well, one of the things that had me doubting, especially again this past year, that there's anything good happening behind the scenes, is seeing how, for example, media, social media, etc., is clearly very much still controlled by the dark forces, because you see who's getting struck, how we're getting struck, you know, the information they don't want us to get out there, etc., etc. So for me, that's telling me something. Now, I'm interested to hear from you around this whole Elon Musk having bought Twitter story for 44 billion. Now, I know, again, 44 is a very significant number if we're looking at the way that the cabal does things and the systems and the synchronicities and everything that they use. So what, in your opinion, I would love to hear that, is the 44 billion about? I'd like to know your opinion on that. And secondly, what do you think Elon Musk taking over Twitter is about? Do you think it's him having flipped, because there's a lot of speculation that he's now pretty much working for the good guys or the good team, or that he flick-flacks between the two, so you can't really figure out where he's at? I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
Well, interesting that 44 in numerology is all about business and future well-being in business. So it's almost like a subliminal, I can't say that well, message saying, this is the good guy. This is the solution to our problems. This is the guy who's going to fix the world. So it's very interesting with that.
They work with those energies, though, don't they? Because of the numerology, the 4 and the 4 together. And I know, I mean, isn't it, I've also heard that when you are part of and I know he's older than 44, I'm not saying he's 44, but I know that something in the secret societies at the age of 40 or 44 or something, there's big rituals that go on. I could be mistaken there, that I'm not sure about that, but I just find the number interesting. Why not 44.5? Why not 40? Why 44? That's an interesting number to come to, because usually they would round it off to 90 million or 40 billion or, you know, whatever.
No, it's very significant. It's very significant. The exact definition they put online too is about focusing on efficient and conscientious business building. Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is. That's a quote.
So therefore he's used that, that would be his intention. If you see what the numerology means, it would be the intention is to build that business consciously.
To make the people think that that's what he's doing.
That's what I'm saying. Now, again, the question is, so if that's what it is, now we understand everything has a polarization and an equal opposite and a deception to it, right? So you put that out there. Okay, that's what it's about. You know, for those of us who understand numerology and are gonna question things the way that I do, for example. And I know there's lots of people like me out there. Okay, so now that, but then there's the cult side to it again. You know, so what does that mean? Like, you know, where is that really leading people to? Because then that would lead me to the question about what team is Elon playing for right now? What was his real intention with buying Twitter? You know, what's his intention?
It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me personally, because what they're doing is they're consolidating. They're giving the power into a consolatory way. So it's like, what they're doing is they're making sure that it's easier to manage everything, their plans, by condensing their circle. The main players they have in place, I know some of them that are groomed like Keanu Reeves, you know, Steven Spielberg, Joel Silver, you know, they each have their roles, Pat Robertson. Each of these guys are in a collective, that they call themselves the elite. Whenever they use the word elite, know they're part of that collective. We don't go around going, we're elite. You know, it's just really sad. But that's what they use. They always use that word and to describe themselves. So what they do is like what happened with Disney, MGM and what was it, Fox, all these studios sold out back to Disney because Disney had started that intellectual property theft ring back in 1993. And so with Mike Lang, who handled My Honey Pot Wife. So what you have is this idea of they're throwing things back, they're tightening their circle, they're going to keep a tighter rein. The art of war, keep your circle tight so you can, you know, make sure you win your battle. and not have too many loose ends or people that you can't trust. When they get insecure about their system and people start faltering and maybe looking for success elsewhere, you know, especially with the people they're taking on, then they feel they need to consolidate. It's even in the Game of Thrones. So with Elon Musk getting that position, it says, first of all, the elite trust Elon Musk to do the dirty. They know he'll do bad. He'll do evil. So they're going to give him positions because they trust him. Pat Robertson did the same thing. He brought Terry Linval into position as a president to have the cover-up facilitated. Warner Brothers, Joel Silver brought Greg Silverman into position with Sony in Warner Brothers as a vice president because he had proved himself to be evil, to do the do. He's going to do the do. He's going to cover this up. Teresa Wayne replaced what was her name? Diane Bellis, who we had submitted our work to at the story department, still there for the cover up because she'll do the evil, she'll do the dude. So it's that what you have is you have positioning now of people that you think they could count on, that they spent PR time on, that are going to come through. Who's going to do the dirtiest work? Who's going to come through in the hardest times for the evil side? Elon Musk's their boy.
I must say, I agree so much with you, Tom. It's just, I personally also believe it's just another cover boy for the greater scheme. And because Twitter had some backlash, now they need somebody who's going to make some peace, get everybody together again. But if you look at this guy's background, Neuralink, connecting people, and the AI technologies, and then you look at Facebook with Metaverse, I wonder if they're working together or he's like trying to show them that he's going to make a better AI version of this. Yeah. So I honestly, that's also where I'm at. It's just another guy in the front that's, yeah. But then when you look at it, we were talking about how the shadow state is crumbling right now. They had that gala event where Elon with his mom was there and he was doing these ridiculous like poses. Mm-hmm. And because they have to maintain posture, he didn't do that. And I saw on JC's on Twitter that she shared that, and she said that that means there were no rituals. So something happened that there was no rituals at that night. So that means they're crumbling in some way. That's because right. On certain important events, they're not happening. So Elon is on the fence.
Could that also not just be part of the deception? You know what I'm saying? I think, you know, Elon is a smart boy. Sorry. He's a smart guy. You know, he's obviously been groomed in the system as well. So at this stage as well, he knows a lot of people are talking about him. A lot of people are learning how to read the hand symbolism and the postures and the what have you. A lot of people are waking up to that. So for all we know, that could have been a big fat cover as well. That's what I'm saying. You know,
well, I would venture though. I would have to say I agree with Morné on this one because it's like these guys operate on ego, pure ego and power. That's all they know. I'm told. So when they slip up, they're thinking about themselves. They don't give a damn about anybody else. Even the people that run them, they don't care about.
Yeah, of course. That's what the ego.
So their ego is the main function. Why did Mike Lang take Becca, the honeypot wife, to bed? The contact said his ego. He blew it. He led the track right back to Disney. With Elon Musk, he's not that bright. He's not that smart. He's groomed. That tech is my tech. And the reason I put it in the film was to propel the story along and to warn about this tech. And here they gave it to Elon Musk at the perfect timing after they ripped me off and I can't do anything about it. They thought they give it to Elon Musk. It's not his work. It's not his idea. He doesn't understand it at all. And I heard him talking about it. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand Neuralink at all. And so it's like, and they make sure to keep out the bad things from it. But if he's up there slipping up on the posturing, then he's made a mistake because he's distracted. He's distracted and he's thinking about his own self. They're upset. They're concerned. That is definitely a sign, I believe. I believe that's definitely a sign because they're not supposed to slip up like that. These PR people make sure that the image is facilitated the way they want. They don't suddenly say, okay, let it go. You know, they're there with
but that would make sense what Morné is saying as well. So that obviously there were no rituals, there was no posturing, there was no signaling.
There's a crack in the system. Yeah, they cracked. They had a crack.
Yeah. So he could just,
and now his deal with Twitter is also on hold right now. lately, just now this week, because
There you go.
Really?
apparently there's too much bots or fake accounts, and now he's like second guessing, or he's going to buy into it because if they remove all the bots, is it really worthwhile platform? So all like complications suddenly in his buying this thing. So
you know, Morné, that tells you right there what happened when the car missed me on the rundown, Joel Silver's and Trudeau's hit and run. It was done on me with a SV5 Mazda, charcoal gray. When that missed me and Sean was killed instead, Joel Silver removed himself from Alder Carbon, and the Wachowskis said that Matrix would be postponed indefinitely. Sure, they give lots of reasons, but what's the real reason? Look at the timing, the events, the timeline tells you what was. Car missed Tom, the author who they're taking from right then, and suddenly the merchandise is left on the shelves and postponed indefinitely for Matrix. And at the same time, Alder Carbon, Joel Silver suddenly leaves the project. Why? It's successful. What are you leaving it for? What are you running for? Why? You did the same thing with Warner Brothers, Joel Silver. You ran from it as soon as I came forward. So you're right. When this happens and they start to dodge it, don't listen to their excuses. There's a reason they're dodging it when it's that high level, when it's that well thought out, and there's that much money involved and that much arranging involved, and there's reasons behind it. There's not just we're just going to take a hat and leave now. No, there's something going on where they're shook. That's a clue. Right to the topic of our meeting today.
I love that. So it's all these little things, and they're actually not that little, you know. But also, I mean, again, I know we've often spoken about this in the past, and time for me has no ending right now. It's just an ongoing thing. You know, time just feels so different at this point in time. But anyway, so what I'm saying there, though, is with things going the way they are and where we are at, because I firmly believe, again, we have no hero. There's no one that's going to save us. No one is going to stand up there and lead us out of this great darkness. We are the ones that all have to stand up, shine our light on whatever the issues are. That's how it's going to change. We are all independently responsible for change. So where would you say in terms of that, you know, with Elon Musk being where he is, your grooming in the system, from what you know, from the movies that you've made, where are we at in terms of that?
Oh, we've got to be right at the finish line. We are running a race. And that's the thing, that people should keep that image in mind, running a race. We cannot lay down on the track and say the race is going to be run for us. We're on that track. It's our families, our lives, our friends, our loved ones at stake. We have to finish this race. And we're going to know it was a race when we get to the end. When we get to the end of this, which is close, I'd say we're near the end for sure. When they crumble like this is the biggest power system and collective that's ever been on this planet through history, ever. This is the most powerful entity combined of scummy people ever in the history. Spartacus couldn't beat it back when he was doing the Roman Empire, and he was right at the Alps. He didn't win. Historians say no one's ever done it. We all are going to do it together. We're going to win. We're going to win.
Yeah,
no
I
one
agree.
has gone this far. No one has had to face what we've all faced, and with the tech involved too. And with Elon as an example, taking tech that we invented. You know, these are all kinds of things they're taking from all of us. That wasn't his, you know. So the thing is, like, they simply groomed people being put up there. They could take a guy off the street or a girl, slap a makeover on them, put them up, and tell us that this is the secret child of somebody who came up with these great ideas, and give them all our work.
Exactly.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
It's pancake makeup and grease paint.
Yeah.
And also very interesting, this talking about another crack in this in the shallow state. I just recently saw with Netflix going all woke has made them go broke. And now they've started changing their policies. And now the people in the company are not happy. And they said, well, if you're not happy, then you have to go. So they've like reversed their like things. So it's less woke and more realistic. So
That is great.
To start changing their policy. But then again, I also think about the light side of the system that Jesse talks about. Isn't this somehow just another way for people to like feel like, okay, things are going back to normal, just to get people tamed down and neutral again? And, but they're still this.
This is the other side panicking.
Definitely panicking because money and
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm just like, I got to say it right now. It is not, all it is they're failing, because Netflix is the main go-to corporation by Disney and Warner Brothers and Universal Studios, the rest of them. Netflix is the laundering machine that comes out of Disney when they created film tracks and Miramax films in order to launder stolen material. That's why the attorneys for Warner Brothers went to Netflix. That's why the Wachowskis announced through Netflix. That's why Joel Silver announced through Netflix. Yeah. Everything's going through Netflix. It is the monster laundering machine of our time of crooks. And that's why if you say they've had trouble, the other side is flailing and falling in the ocean. They are flailing. That is not a trick. It's not a deception that things are going back to normal. They are falling. And of course, they're going to scream at the same time, "We're fine," before their head hits the pavement.
Exactly. I mean, they've got 2 more cracks. Disney, with their whole thingy, they got a big crack with the system. Everybody just canceling the Disney Plus. And then I think CNA, they launched their like special viewer thingy and like less than a month they had to like cancel it because nobody was subscribing to their stuff. So there's lots of cracks happening if you look at it. Where
first the rats run from the ship. That was Fox, MGM selling back to Disney. And then the ship falters. The only thing we're not seeing right now is like the getting out of Berlin scenes where the Nazis are burning all their paperwork, all their records. We have seen that. We have seen them destroying their records, court records, FBI records, CIA records, all these records being destroyed. When Building 7 went down, that was lots of records being destroyed. They're destroying the records now. So all the components are in place of a falling regime. Destroy your records, selling out back to them. And then they're having their problems falling. Of course, they'd want us to think that they're fine, that it may be a deception. It's not. They have had it. They have had it. And the fact that I am smiling in front of you and making it. And I got to meet Madison for the first time on a program just recently, Ron. You guys look lovely and wonderful, all of you. And it's like, there's a survivor, like you said, classy people. You're all classy people. I'm on there going like, classy people. That shows you we have survived. It's like we've come out of the water and we're back in the sun. And it's a wonderful time. That should let audiences know good world is coming. The survivors have survived and the other side is falling apart. And like I said, we need to realize this. Never before in human history has there been more dangerous, more heartless powers consolidated to do the biggest evil than our time. And we have survived, and we are now seeing them falling. So we won't give them the credit anyway that somehow they've staged this. They're falling. Let's call it what it is, because they don't like that. You're falling.
Yeah,
you fall.
I have a question for you, Tom, just again from your perspective. Now, I'm not a great movie watcher at all and haven't been for many, many years.
Not really to watch.
But I must say,
go ahead.
but recently, I have actually gone specifically and I have watched a few things on Netflix, and I completely agree that they are the money launderers. Absolutely. It's interesting how they've created this whole other little addictive monster for humanity. But interesting, I mean, there's a lot of very relevant topics that are in the movies nowadays. By chance, I came up on a South African movie, all about child trafficking. And it's so true because my research has shown that. I was watching one about organ harvesting and organ trafficking. I was watching, I mean, if you just watch The Blacklist with James Spader, they talk about the cabal. They spoke about this whole thing with I'm not going to talk about it now because we got struck the last time, that they're talking about it. It's in the water at the moment. the way that they've manipulated and put the snake stuff in there.
Mhm.
That was one of the programs on the blacklist with James Spader.
Mhm.
So we know that they are telling us these things all the time and always have been through subliminal programming and subliminal messaging, not just in the movies, but in the disgusting Disney clips you see of Mickey with erections and all sorts of things that are programming the kids, but also in the music. So it's all over. From you, what you know, why are they doing that? Is it because they have to, because that's Lucifer's law, that you got to kind of put it out there? Or are they trying to see what's the response from the general public to the topics they put out there? Why do they? And they always have in movies. I mean, even in your Matrix movie, even in your Matrix movie, it's truth all the time, right? There's so much truth. It's very layered. You've got to be smart to figure that out, definitely. But there's always truth in movies. So, especially with the subliminal programming.
They want to be clever. They want to celebrate their evil. Being evil is kind of lonely. If you believe that it's all about power, it can be lonely. If you feel that you're all about power and all that you associate with are all about power and that's it, then you're a one-man show or a one-woman show in the end, because everyone wants to step on you. That's a pretty nasty world. Their laws of nature world, they claim. So they need to feel clever. They need to stand above their others, even among their own circle. They need to stand above them. So clever is their currency. Clever is the way they do it. Sticking things in there for, like Susanna Bolgen said with the Matrix, as you brought up. The Matrix story. Susanna Bolgen, their graphic designer, says that anything in for split seconds for the directors only to keep it interesting and for their eyes only.
But I suppose that's actually their reality. If I'm just sitting here thinking about it, the stuff that they make movies about is the stuff that they entertain their minds with.
Yes, right. That's right.
So it's their reality. It's the stuff they have conversations. I mean, you would know as a creator, Tom. It's this. I know as an author and as a creator of products and things as well on a different level. It's the stuff I entertain my mind with a lot of the time. It's the stuff. I mean, from your movies. Right. I mean, you would have thought about that a lot. I mean, it's kind of, you live there in your mind, right?
Right.
So these guys live so much in these, like they create in these situations. They create stories out of it.
They do, and a lot of times it's fear-based. Often fear-based.
Always fear.
Yeah, they're afraid of death. When you look at humanity, the basic level, that's why I wrote The Immortals, which became The Matrix, really was to put it on the table. Humanity is afraid of death. Now, they make lots of excuses with religion and other things saying like, oh, I'm not afraid. Yeah, you are. It is human nature to fear your demise. Maybe there's oblivion, maybe to be or not to be. Shakespeare, we all know that. We don't like to look at it often. That's why I addressed it also. I felt guided to address it. Fear of death. What if death is defeated? What if it's defeated and we have an immortal program? That's where the Matrix thing comes from. So in the meantime, to be immortal, they do these inserts also. It's creativity is almost a feeling of being immortal. They talk about all through their works all the time, from Troy to you name it. You know, they want to be remembered, not forgotten. The worst thing they think that can happen to us is be forgotten. So what do they say? Sophia Stewart, these others come along and say, you're just a footnote. What did Wachowski's put on TMZ, owned by Warner Brothers, their attorney? He's a know-nothing hack, famous for nothing. That's their big fear projected on me, which I will be remembered. You know, I'll be remembered, we'll be remembered because we did the good thing. We did it right. We weren't seeking to be remembered. It's just a natural response of being genuine with compassion. You're not hard to forget. And the other side is sure making it sure that they're clearly saying we're hard to forget because they sure are fixated on us. So their whole thing is about being remembered and being immortal. That's why the legacies are such a concern, right? And Robertson, Eisner, all these guys, Silver, Spielberg even, they're running all these things to make Spielberg feel better about himself. So we remembered well and loved, even though they did all this evil.
You know what's interesting as well? Not too long ago, we did a chat with Jesse. And when you're watching The Simpsons, when you look at The Simpsons, in The Simpsons, there was a lot of predictive stuff over the years that came true, you know, like when you're looking at a lot of the Trump elections, the Canadian trackers. I can't even remember the others now. I know that there've been quite a few. And I know Morné is just saying lots. I'm looking at him there. And I know we've had this on. But anyway, so one of the questions at the time, maybe 2-3 months ago now, maybe 3 months ago, an interview we did with Jesse was like, what is that about? How come the producers and whatever it is of The Simpsons is able to predict the future from yonks ago? And what she was saying is obviously now Jesse's spoken to us about the kids in the system. Elon Musk was one of those kids, you know, that they start with, I think it's the Looking Glass Project. Then there's another one. And then the last one is the Voice of God. Yeah. So they have been using kids in the system to actually foresee the future and have the most probable event turn out, because there's 3 ways. It's like a 3-step process for them to determine what the future is going to be. They get these kids with special spiritual gifts who then predict that. Then they made episodes of The Simpsons based on these kids who've been in the system, hierarchy kids that have made these predictions about what the future is going to be. So they've created Simpsons stories about that, and but that's really kids from the Looking Glass Project was the one. Morné, what was the other one?
Isn't it Stargate, Looking Glass, Stargate, and Voice of God? Voice
of God was the third one. There's a middle one that I always forget. I can't remember. Sorry, guys. But those of us who, what Jesse,
I even the Immortals, I addressed Lebensborn. So it's like, it's like the idea of breeding the elite, abilities.
Yeah.
So
I can't remember that second one, but Tom, just before I forget, you were speaking about being evil is kind of lonely. And I think that was so profound that you say that, because being in that state, you're constantly filling this big hole inside of yourself, this fear, and you're filling it with your own ego. So it's like you're constantly busy with yourself. And people think narcissists like don't care, or they just care about themselves. But in fact, they don't care. They don't even care about themselves. No. They're like so scared. They're so like living out of this, like, I want to say, reaction inside of them. They're not responding to anything. And it's very lonely. And it's lonely. It's sad in it is.
You just raised something
crazy. Important.
I had told my sister way back when she was a big fan, like, I'm your biggest fan, Tom, for her doctorate. I said, why don't you address children who are autistic and make the point that they can be reached. Autistic children can be reached if you can pique their interest and feel like they want to connect with you, they will. And so she did that, and that's what got her a doctorate, if I understand correctly. I told her that. But also narcissism. Narcissism is something that can be forged. A person can become a narcissist. And I think that's really important to know. We're not born that way. You can become that way. I am not a narcissist, but Robertson tagged that on me right away because he is a narcissist. My sister became a narcissist, and it's like an associative disorder thing or whatever, where it's like they rage all the time if it's about their image. They don't even care about their kids, really. They care about their image. That's it. And so if you could question their image at all, they instantly rage. They lose it manically. And it's not how you can tell, And so it's like, that's why I won't want to talk to her ever again. I don't want to ever talk to her because she just goes off and says these things that are off the charts. Like, everybody loves me, nobody hates me. It's like, where'd that come from? That's the deluded thinking they have. And if you say they're deluded, they lose it, but they'll call you deluded all the time. So they attack, they have to have someone to attack. In this dissociative disorder, if they don't have somebody to attack and you're not available for them to attack, they attack somebody else. That's why my sister and my brother-in-law got divorced right away. As soon as they failed at 302, I predicted it. They get divorced. They turn on each other. It's like this. They have to consume someone else so they don't have eyes on themselves.
Exactly.
Shame-driven. And the more they do this evil, the more they're going to pile the shame at some point. So I'm waiting for the phone call sometime from this kind of setting we're talking about, where the narcissist calls you and goes, somewhere along the line is screwed up, they're gonna actually, when they don't have anybody else to go to, they'll go to you, who they targeted, because they know you actually had a caring heart. In the end, all the time.
But they'll go to the places that they obviously feel like they are able to manipulate and get what they want out of you. And they're very good manipulators. So they can turn on the tears, they can turn on the charm, they can turn on the martyr, they can turn on the broken wing chicken.
Right. And what does Hollywood do? They hold out the rewards for the narcissists and the dissociative disorders. They hold out rewards and honors, and that's what Robertson preys on. And they try to claim that we're all like that. We're not all like that. So they have
and I agree. You know, we're not born like that, Tom. You know, this is what I talk about as well. When we look at the child's first 8 years in their life, that's the formative years. So that is so important that they get good grounding, safe home space, safe family space, safe security. You know, even if they don't have a big family, they need to be able to feel they can trust someone who they would see as their family, you know, because the shadow state has understood completely what it is to split a personality, the DID, through the different rituals, the abuses and that's how narcissists of the world are created. You know, it's through pain and suffering. And when someone is aligned with God, with themselves, with their source, when someone is strong in their personal power and in a non-egotistical way, but more in a spiritual way, they don't have a narcissistic trait in their body. They understand when to step forward, when to step back. They understand when to speak, when to be still. They understand when to take stage, when to let someone else take the stage. It's a balance, you know, it's not just you, it's not just me, it's both of us. And we find that balance. But, you know, that's what I'm saying. So a lot of narcissists have been created through the system.
Absolutely.
Through the abuse, the ritual abuse over time, because they know these people have never experienced love. They've never experienced anything that is joyful in their lives. Everything is conditional. Everything is about pain. Love and pain are synonymous. And that's not the truth.
World War II Germany, that was their whole process for the children. To be a child of the state, basically unloved. You don't hold that child. You don't take it up from the crib. You don't. And then the state is prepared to take that child that was starved for affection and give them the, Hitler Youth and things like this. What's interesting,
and exactly now you've got a sense of a place to go. You've got a uniform. You're going to be a soldier. You're fighting for your country. And I mean, of course, that appeals to a boy's ego and a boy's pride. You know, and especially in times when the country's being destroyed, you know, they push out the propaganda, and they work.
Yeah, that's where healing in the world's going to come from. We stop this witch hunts and this thing about even Germans, even people who lived during that time, you know, let's give them some understanding. You know, it's like those people went through hell. If you're in that state, raised in that state the way you are, let's have some understanding for some of those people instead of just saying that they were villains. They're all, you know, they knew what was going on. Same in this country. There's a lot going on in this country that's just pure evil in this world, in this United States of America. And so what happens later in history? We're all going to be blamed for it. We're all going to be blamed for it. There's another interesting element, that those of us that grew up totally unloved, completely unloved and battered and abused, doesn't mean we're going to turn out bad. I think there's a whole group of us that have been the way I am. And we decided at a spiritual level at age 3, 4, 5 years old, we decided we're going to be benevolent for this world. We're going to do good things for this world because we don't like what's being done around us. And that decision is done at such a young age. Our whole purpose, our whole lives are dedicated to it. You can trust us to follow through in goodness. And that's what's amazing, that their system that seems so perfect, their playbook, failed. I was supposed to be a group leader. I was supposed to be a leader, a face of the Christian Coalition and other elements, other positions where I would lead this world. And instead, I love this world. I love the people in it. I love life in it. I love animals in it. The people. It's like they failed because I made a decision at a very young age when I was being battered, abused, and hated, and despised and mocked. I went through that. I was tiny. And I decided then, this isn't right. I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to others when I'm older. So that was me. I spent my young life actually holding my breath at times, going like this, and trying to sleep as much as possible so I could grow up to make a better difference in the world. I wanted to get my childhood out of the way. I knew when I was bigger, I could make a difference.
Well, you really are making a wonderful difference in the world, Tom. We all know that. We can see that. And we certainly appreciate you for what you do.
Well, thank
you. As usual, when we're having fun, time flies. Our time is up for today.
Wow.
Well, thank you.
I want to say, yeah, thank you, Tom. I'm not sure if is there anything you would like to just say in closing before we
just one thing. I want to say a better world's coming, like always. A better world's coming. But when you see people across from you, do an experiment to audiences, go out there to grocery store, anything else, and just realize we don't know what's that other person in those shoes, what they go through. We don't know their story. We don't know. Go ahead and ask or understand. Let's stop being too judgmental and let's start being understanding right from the get-go. Let's not do what Hollywood and the FBI wants us to do. Let's do what we know in our hearts we should do, which is be open to others, be understanding. We don't know their stories. And if someone's been battered and abused, they might just be a gem. They might be somebody who's going to try to make a difference and decided at a young age, I want a better world. I don't want people to go through this. So that's what I would say is just let's open our hearts to all out there and realize that the people that might seem shielded may be hurting, and the child deserves love.
Always. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Just say what I wanted to say. So thank you, Tom. You said it in your way, but that was my line as well. So
I'd love to hear your way. I want to hear your way because when you say it, I'm just like, someone had an image of like they're going like, wow, when you talk. I'd like to hear it your way.
Well, I was just going to say that everybody should remember that every person born on this planet, 99% don't have a perfect home. Our parents are broken. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the dark side. That abandonment, that neglectance, that seeing your parents doing stupid things, everybody has issues. And we just need to all to understand that compassion and love is the only way. And you can learn from every person. So with the bad guys, some of them are like maybe panicking and wanting to get out because they're actually wanting love. And some of them were like, they want to give up now and they actually want redemption. And right now, the last thing we can do is judge everyone and just start realizing that we're all in this together. We all follow the same rules. It doesn't mean you're in the dark side, that you're not following the dark side's rule in your family. In the sense of we're all doing it. We're giving the darkness its energy by complying to our own weakness. So start by loving yourself. Start showing compassion to yourself. Start saying kindness. I think kindness is the biggest thing here. Just show kindness.
You just made me think of something. One last thing, Chantelle, I promise. But you guys
No
are so
problem.
is that when we judge wrong every time. Whenever we judge wrong because we don't know the full stories. So whenever we pass judgment, we're doing it wrong. We'll never do it right. Never fully, never accurately.
Yeah, I've always want to say, compassion is the true discernment. Compassion is, if you have compassion, that if you're in a state of compassion, then you can truly discern. And discerning, it's not judgment, but you can put stuff into place. And that's why I believe women should be all the lawyers and judges because they've got a heart of gold, but they can be very nasty as well. So anyways, point being, I think compassion, if you're in a state of compassion, that's when you can truly discern or judge.
That's it. A challenge for anybody would be, last thing, is to reserve judgment. Take a time sometime where you want to judge and reserve that judgment and then watch what happens. Some of my best friendships were out of me reserving judgment and then actually learning the truth afterwards and going, thank God I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Thank God I let it rest. and develop as it should and not judge. It can be so rewarding to reserve judgment. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Great conversation. And I have to say, guys, you all know I'm a technophobe, but tonight, first time ever, I managed to have a conversation up, the live chat up next to Zoom. I'm so ecstatic. I'm so ecstatic I get to see your comments.
Fantastic.
I've achieved something today. I want to tell you, this is like so cool. So I want to just say to each and every one of you commenting and supporting us, it's really just so beautiful to watch you. And, you know, usually I watch the comments afterwards, but I'm pretty much single-minded when I'm interviewing or chatting with someone, but it's really cool to see you guys comment, chiming in when you do. Just the support that you're giving us is beautiful. So I really want to just say thank you to our viewers. It's wonderful that you guys are supporting us and enjoying our content that we're putting out there. And for those of you who haven't already, please give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. We are here on Aquarius Rising Africa. We've got solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa too. You know, we've been taken down recently. We're trying to get our algorithms up again. So please just like, share, subscribe, comment. Also, we're going to, as I've said before as well, we're going to be migrating over to Rumble more and more and more. So please just give us a like on Rumble as well, because that's where we mostly uncensored. And a lot of our videos that we're not posting on YouTube now are going on to Rumble. In fact, Morné, which one was it yesterday's with Australia?
Yeah, yes.
That was a really, really amazing interview with Australia, Kareen from Australia, well, with our Focus on Australia video that we do with Gabby Chung every Monday. And then there was a lady from New Zealand who was telling us what's happening in New Zealand. Guys, it's so incredible to just observe from all over the world how people are doing things and how the changes everyone is making, and how these past 2 years have been such a wake-up call. People just having woken up, starting these rescue groups, these extraction groups, getting their bums into gear and doing things and making things happen, and aware of the child transportation, as we call it, aware of the juicy chrome, the adrenal harvesting and stuff like that, and just doing something. And wow, in the last year, they've rescued 40 kids, which is just beautiful. So please watch that as well. Maybe, Mona, you can post the link here to our Australia link yesterday. It's just beautiful just to support everyone all over the world who's getting involved and doing what they need to do. So thank you so much. God bless you, bless you, bless you all. Mwah. Thank you, Jerry. Jerry has just left the last comment to say shalom. Thank you. You see, this is now why every day I'll be watching live. So when you see my eyes diverted, that's what I'm doing. Take it easy, guys.